A single American soldier is completely isolated deep inside Iranian territory, hundreds of miles behind enemy lines, carrying nothing but a pistol and a communication device. Thousands of armed men are hunting him through the unforgiving Zagros Mountains. What began as a routine rescue mission has transformed into the riskiest military operation in years, and President Biden made a decision that will define his entire legacy as commander-in-chief. This is Biden's last stand, and what happened in those 48 hours reveals a brutal truth about modern warfare that nobody wants to admit. The mission started with surgical precision. An American F-15 Strike Eagle was conducting operations against underground command centers deep in the Zagros Mountains of southwestern Iran. The strike was flawless, targets eliminated with pinpoint accuracy, but then everything went catastrophically wrong. An Iranian missile locked onto the American jet, and within seconds the aircraft was spiraling out of control. Both crew members ejected over some of the most hostile terrain imaginable. The first pilot was extracted immediately by rescue helicopters, but the second pilot, a colonel serving as weapons systems officer, disappeared into the mountains. His last known action was moving away from the crash site, beginning a solitary fight for survival with minimal equipment against an entire nation mobilizing to capture him. He managed to reach a mountain ridge standing over 2,100 meters high, but he was surrounded, outnumbered, and running out of time. The phone rang in the White House Situation Room, and President Biden faced the most critical decision of his presidency. His advisors presented three options. First, diplomatic negotiation, which Biden dismissed immediately. Second, a limited rescue operation with calculated risks. Third, full-scale military mobilization that could escalate into total war. The room fell silent as advisors warned him that this could spiral into World War III. Biden's response was direct and uncompromising. No American gets left behind, not on my watch. He authorized the activation of Protocol Sandy, the search and rescue protocol, but this time with unprecedented resources. The force package assembled was larger than anything deployed since major combat operations in the Middle East. Special operations teams, HH-60 and Pave Hawk helicopters, MH-6 Little Birds, F-35 fighter jets, MQ-9, Reaper drones, B-1B Lancer strategic bombers, the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group repositioned, and Patriot missile batteries placed on high alert. Biden was explicitly warned that this operation could cost hundreds of American lives, but his answer remained unchanged. Make it happen, whatever the cost. The geographic challenges were immense. The deep valleys and razor-sharp peaks of the Zagros Mountains create natural radar shadows, blocking long-range detection systems. Visibility in the valleys drops to barely 500 meters, creating perfect conditions for ambushes by local militias. This was a nightmare scenario from the very first moments. The Iranian regime in Tehran understood the political value of capturing an American pilot alive. Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei issued a public declaration calling this a direct invasion of Iranian sovereignty and decreed national mobilization. The bounty for capturing the American soldier alive jumped from $60,000 to $200,000. Tehran had a dual objective: create a diplomatic bargaining chip and publicly humiliate Biden before he left office. The mobilization was absolutely massive. This wasn't just militias, this was the full weight of the Iranian state. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, thousands of armed civilians, local tribal members, Basij militia forces, and elite Quds Force units all converged on the region. Intelligence estimates put the total number at over 50,000 people mobilized for the hunt. Checkpoints appeared every 5 kilometers. Iranian Shade 136 drones began patrolling the valleys. Iranian state media broadcast a chilling message to the world: Biden will go down in history as the president who lost a soldier inside Iran. The Zagros valleys transformed into the largest manhunt zone in modern military history, but what the Iranians didn't know was that they were chasing a digital ghost. President Biden authorized the use of any means necessary to protect the stranded officer. A classified presidential order went out with extraordinary language. Force level authorized is unlimited. Rules of engagement are extremely permissive. Protection of the soldier takes absolute priority over diplomatic relations. American forces created a steel bubble with a 50-kilometer radius around the officer's last known position. This was the first time since Vietnam that the United States conducted such a deep ground operation inside hostile territory. The initial air support came from 2 A-10 Thunderbolt aircraft, but Biden immediately ordered reinforcements and an entire squadron of 12 A-10s deployed to the theater. These aircraft began ultra-aggressive tactics, intercepting Iranian convoys, flying dangerously low-altitude maneuvers, conducting preemptive strikes against Revolutionary Guard positions, and unleashing massive suppression fire with their 30mm Avenger cannons. Then came the first major incident. An A-10 was hit by an infrared-guided missile fired from Chinese-made Manpad's batteries hidden in the valley floor. The missile destroyed the right turbofan engine completely. Only the legendary titanium armor of the A-10 allowed the aircraft to limp back to base. Biden was immediately informed. "Mr. President, we almost lost another pilot." The second incident followed quickly. An HH-60 helicopter took severe damage under intense fire from Zu-23 anti-aircraft guns. 3 crew members were wounded. The helicopter made an emergency landing in American-controlled territory. Biden's response was immediate: authorize escalation now. While tens of thousands of people swarmed through the mountains believing their local knowledge would lead them to the American, they were actually pursuing a phantom. Iranian state propaganda declared the encirclement of the American invader complete, but the reality was completely different. Biden watched via satellite feed as the soldier continued moving freely. The American officer carried a piece of technology that made him virtually invisible, the Combat Survivor Evader Locator System. This device transmits encrypted data directly via satellite, using frequency-hopping technology that makes it invisible to traditional radio direction-finding equipment. To Iranian radar systems, the signal appears as nothing more than atmospheric background noise. The Iranians were scanning the mountains with obsolete Russian and Chinese equipment while the American officer covered 8 kilometers in 24 hours, reaching his objective, a strategic peak standing 2,100 meters tall. American intelligence knew his exact position in real time. Biden even established direct communication with the soldier. "Hold tight, Colonel. We're coming to get you." An emergency crisis meeting convened at the White House. Biden's advisors were deeply divided. The Secretary of Defense stated flatly that aerial rescue was no longer possible. The Secretary of State warned Mr. President this could start World War III. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs explained that deep ground infiltration was the only remaining option. Biden's response was immediate and final. "Make it happen. I don't care what it costs." The operation was codenamed Last Stand, chosen personally by Biden. The force package deployed was the largest special operations mobilization in recent history. 2 complete Delta Force teams totaling 40 operators, 3 SEAL Team 6 elements with 60 operators, Rangers as supporting force numbering 200 soldiers, and operators from the CIA Special Activities Division. The challenge was almost impossible. Travel approximately 480 kilometers through hostile territory, passing through civilian crowds, military formations, impossible mountain terrain, and checkpoints positioned every few kilometers. Estimated infiltration time, 36 to 48 hours of continuous movement through enemy territory. The air shield transformed from defensive to offensive warfare. B-1B Lancer strategic bombers began continuous precision strikes against any Iranian force within 5 kilometers of the officer. A swarm of 15 MQ-9 Reaper drones operated simultaneously, providing automatic threat neutralization within a 3-kilometer lethal perimeter around the soldier. Biden personally authorized the rules of engagement. If they move toward our soldier, eliminate them. The results were devastating. Classified statistics that later leaked revealed over 200 Iranian combatants eliminated, dozens of military vehicles destroyed, and Iranian military installations struck deep inside their own territory. CNN reported it as the largest American military operation since Syria. Tehran accused the United States of committing genocide on Iranian soil. The United Nations Security Council called an emergency meeting. Russia and China issued vehement condemnations. European allies expressed deep concern about escalation. Biden released a public statement. "We will protect our soldiers always." Delta Force and SEAL teams moved through the darkness like ghosts, using advanced night movement techniques, silently eliminating sentries, working toward a single objective, reached the soldier within 36 hours. But the resistance was far heavier than anticipated. Biden approved an operation without historical precedent, establish a temporary air base on Iranian soil. The location was selected in a rural area south of Isfahan, approximately 10 kilometers southeast of the city. Biden's shocked advisors protested. "Sir, this is technically an invasion." Biden's response was unwavering. "It's a rescue, period." The forces deployed to establish and defend this temporary base included Delta Force elements providing perimeter security, Rangers defending the runway, MH-6 helicopters, and C-130 Hercules transport aircraft. The operational window was brutally tight, only 4 hours to get in and get out. Iranian forces immediately attempted to retake the airfield, resulting in intense combat around the perimeter. MH-6 Little Bird helicopters flew in at terrain-hugging altitude to extract the soldier directly from the escarpment where he had held out for 48 hours. The extraction happened under fire, but the helicopter successfully transported him directly to the temporary base. His first communication went straight to the president. "Mr. President, I'm coming home." Cameras in the Situation Room captured tears streaming down Biden's face, a moment that humanized the entire operation. But then disaster struck on the temporary runway. Two massive C-130 Hercules aircraft became completely stuck when their nose landing gear sank deep into unexpected mud. Hundreds of American soldiers were now at imminent risk of capture, with Iranian forces estimated to be only 15 minutes away. Biden faced the hardest decision of the entire operation. His commanders presented two options: attempt to save the aircraft at extreme risk, or destroy them and evacuate at a cost of millions of dollars. The phone call between Biden and the ground commander was brief and decisive. The commander reported, "Mr. President, we cannot save the aircraft." Biden's order came within 30 seconds. "Destroy everything. Get my soldiers out of there now." That single decision cost $400 million. Explosive charges were placed at critical points on both C-130s. Frantic evacuation began via helicopters. AFSOC MC-130H aircraft, lighter and more maneuverable, were sent on what amounted to a suicide mission. They arrived under heavy Iranian fire and evacuated all personnel in 12 minutes. Controlled explosions destroyed the original C-130s, leaving American wreckage burning on Iranian soil. The last American aircraft cleared Iranian airspace exactly 3 minutes before Iranian forces arrived at the site. Iranian state media immediately broadcast images of the burning wreckage worldwide. Iranian military personnel were shown celebrating what was portrayed as a great victory. The headline declared, "Iran defeats American invasion." Supreme Leader Khamenei gave a public address proclaiming that the American empire had been humiliated on our soil. But the truth that Iranian propaganda could not hide was far more devastating for Tehran. They failed to capture a single American soldier. Iranian military casualties exceeded 200 killed. Iranian military infrastructure was destroyed across multiple sites. American forces violated Iranian airspace continuously for 48 hours. American commandos operated freely inside Iran, establishing a temporary base and extracting their personnel without losing a single soldier. A nation of 85 million people could not stop 100 commandos operating in the heart of Iranian territory. The erosion of regime authority was massive, and the Iranian civilian population began openly questioning their military's capability to defend the nation. President Biden addressed the nation from the White House in what became one of the defining speeches of his presidency. Standing before the cameras, his voice filled with emotion, he began, "My fellow Americans, today we brought our soldier home. No American gets left behind, not on my watch." His voice cracked with emotion as he continued, "This is what it means to serve as Commander-in-Chief." Biden confirmed that the operation lasted 48 hours and acknowledged significant material losses, but he offered no apologies. "I would do it all again without hesitation." He thanked the Special Operations Forces who risked everything, and in his final weeks in office, he defined his legacy with this single decision. The domestic political reaction was sharply divided. Democrats gave him a standing ovation. Republicans split between supporters declaring Biden did the right thing and critics arguing the operation cost too much. Public opinion polling showed 78% approval for the operation itself, reflecting broad American support for the principle of never leaving soldiers behind. The economic balance sheet was absolutely brutal. Confirmed material losses included one F-15 Strike Eagle valued at $140 million, two destroyed C-130 Hercules aircraft worth $200 million, one heavily damaged A-10 Thunderbolt costing $20 million, and munitions expended exceeding $50 million. The direct total exceeded $400 million. But the hidden operational costs were even more staggering. The massive mobilization required repositioning an entire carrier strike group, flying hundreds of combat sorties, and sustaining intensive logistics operations. The total estimated cost ranged between $800 million and $1.2 billion. The cost per hour of operation averaged approximately $17 million. The asymmetric mathematics of modern warfare became painfully clear. The Iranian missile that shot down the F-15 cost between $3,000 and $5,000. The cost ratio was 1 to 28,000. This single fact raised a critical question that echoed through Washington. Biden saved one soldier, but at what cost to the American taxpayer? Biden demonstrated several things to the world through this operation. He showed absolute determination to protect American personnel, the capability to project power without limits anywhere on Earth, and willingness to use total force regardless of consequences. NATO allies felt renewed confidence in American security commitments. Adversaries, including Russia and China, immediately began recalculating their strategic assumptions about American resolve. But the operation also sent shockwaves through Iran's proxy network. Observers in Beirut, Sana'a, and Baghdad from organizations including Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Iraqi Shiite militias all watched the same events unfold. A question began circulating through these groups. If Tehran cannot protect its own territory, how can it protect us? This created a deep fissure in the credibility of Iran's security umbrella for its regional proxies. Russia, already struggling in Ukraine, watched as a regional ally was humiliated and began questioning the viability of Iranian defenses. China, deeply invested in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and BRICS, learned an uncomfortable lesson. Western technology still dominates the battlefield. Biden achieved a complete tactical victory. He rescued the soldier, demonstrated unwavering determination, and confirmed American capability to project power anywhere. But military analysts raised uncomfortable strategic questions. What about sustainability over the long term? What if there were 10 soldiers trapped? 100? Would total war with Iran be economically viable? The operation revealed geographic traps that favor asymmetric defense. Iranian geography creates natural advantages for defensive operations. Superior technology does not eliminate risk in this terrain. The dispersed manpad system creates continuous threat. Every mission becomes a $140 million gamble. The mathematics of a war of attrition became clear through hypothetical scenarios. Iran contains 20 million buildings and hundreds of thousands of infrastructure installations. With a 1% loss rate per mission, tens of thousands of sorties would be required. The projected cost would reach into the trillions of dollars. The brutal question emerged: can the United States afford this model of warfare? This operation will be remembered as the defining moment of Biden's presidency, a demonstration of core American values, and total commitment to the principle that no soldier gets left behind. Historical comparisons emerged immediately, echoes of Mogadishu and Black Hawk Down, but with a different ending. Similarities to the Bin Laden raid, but in far more hostile territory. Nsawed and Telt were Nadift and Seoul. Parallels to the Jessica Lynch rescue, but on a much larger scale. Biden could have chosen diplomatic negotiation, waited for a better opportunity, or minimized risks. Instead, Biden chose to risk everything. The result? Soldier coming home, but at what price? The lessons learned were brutal and unambiguous. Modern warfare is not about who has the best technology alone, or who has the most firepower alone, or who controls the sky alone. Modern warfare is about who can sustain economic pressure over time, who can absorb asymmetric losses continuously, and who has the political will to continue fighting indefinitely. The uncomfortable truth became impossible to ignore. The United States brought the soldier back successfully, demonstrated capability convincingly, but spent over $1 billion doing it. Sustainability remains the critical unknown question. Iran did not capture the soldier and suffered massive losses, but proved something strategically important. Geography plus cheap weapons equals sustainable pressure on even the most advanced military. Biden is leaving office, but he leaves behind an established precedent, a created expectation, and a defined standard. The question for his successor is direct. Would you do the same? The military now knows the president will use any means necessary, and that rescue is prioritized over cost. But is this sustainable? Adversaries, including Iran, learned that America will come for its soldiers, but they also learned the cost America pays, and whether this determination can be transformed into a strategic trap. Biden's last stand revealed far more than just a successful rescue operation. It exposed the true strength of American determination, the real limits of technological supremacy, the actual cost of military loyalty, and the new mathematics of modern warfare. Controlling the sky does not equal winning the war. Superior technology does not equal guaranteed victory. Rescuing one soldier does not equal winning the conflict. Biden may have won this battle decisively, but can America win this war? More importantly, can America afford to win this war? Biden's last stand in Iran was undoubtedly a success in bringing the soldier home, but whether it was sustainable is the trillion-dollar question that will define American military strategy for years to come. History will decide whether this was Biden's finest hour or an unsustainable precedent that future presidents cannot maintain. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave your opinion in the comments. Did Biden make the right call? Your support through memberships and contributions helps us continue bringing you this content, and the real war may still be yet to come.